So, you want to grow tomatoes, but you're not sure where to start? Step into my office. So, what seems to be the problem?
I don't know, doctor. I just want to grow some tomatoes, but I don't know where to start.
Well, what can I help you with?
Well, doctor, there's just so many different kinds of tomatoes. I'm not sure what an open pollinated is, what a determinate is, what indeterminate is. I don't even know, doctor. I can't understand what they're talking about.
Well, yes, I can understand. It can be quite confusing. There are so many different types. What about these types?
But doctor, I read this article about green zebras and brandy wines, and I don't even know who Paul Robeson is! There's even one name! Growing tomatoes can be one of the most rewarding things that you can grow in your backyard, but it can also be very confusing. There are so many different varieties, an indeterminate, determinate, open pollinated, hybrid. What do these all mean? Well, what we're going to do today is talk about what's best for your backyard. My name is Jason, this is our Creation Homestead, and this is all about the best tomatoes for your situation. There's several things that you need to think about when you go into deciding to grow tomatoes in your backyard. First of all, how many do you want to grow? What are your goals? What do you want to get from them? Do you just want fresh eating? Do you want to make a salsa or a sauce? Do you want to can some for later? What do you like to eat small ones? There's so many different things to think about. First off, indeterminate and determinate. What does that mean? Well, if you read something and it talks about tomato being determinate, all that simply means is that it's a short, compact bush tomato that will set all of its fruit within a couple weeks and it'll be done. Very simple. It's like a Roma tomato, or sometimes a container tomato, varieties that are bred just for being in containers on a patio. But however, indeterminate is more of something like your average tomatoes that will grow all season long. They'll spread out a lot more, that will require more care because they'll need more staking. Like they'll get way out of hand sometimes, grow this way, that way. They can grow 7-8 feet tall, but you will also get tomatoes all season, and maybe some better ones at that. Next, how about open pollinated versus hybrid? Well, hybrid tomato is just simply something that has been cross-pollinated 2 or 3 times or whatever and created to produce seeds that will give you a different kind of tomato. One that's probably faster growing, grows bigger tomatoes, or grows more tomatoes per season. But you won't be able to save seeds from those for the next season if that's something you're looking to do. Versus an open pollinated or an heirloom tomato may have a better flavor, may not grow as fast, but you're going to get plenty of really good flavorful tomatoes out of those, and they're going to have some different names as well. For instance, brandy wine, Arkansas Traveler, some are more common like a beefsteak. Cherokee Purple was one of our favorites, but there's thousands of varieties of tomatoes. So now here's some varieties that we are growing in our own garden this year, and I'll talk about things that we love about those, so maybe you'll get a better idea. First of all, we love to eat small cherry tomatoes. Who doesn't? You just go out to the garden, snack on them, pop them in your mouth, whatever, no big deal. But they're delicious, and you can get a really good fresh tomato flavor in this little bitty bite. So one we like to grow is called black cherry. It's a prolific producer, as is most all cherry tomatoes, but it's extraordinarily sweet. It's a dark purple tomato, so we're gonna call it black, and it's really sweet. But it grows everywhere. When you get a really prolific cherry style tomato, be prepared. They are very indeterminate, so be prepared to stake them up, maybe have to trim them down some, but they're going to grow everywhere and take over at least 2 or 3 different spots in your garden sometimes. But to me, they're well worth it. Another one we like to grow is Cherokee Purple, and it is a beefsteak style tomato. So if you hear a beefsteak style, it's going to be a slicing tomato. It's going to be what you want to buy for big slices of tomato, is a beefsteak style tomato. So this Cherokee Purple, it's a classic tomato. Tomato lovers everywhere love it. It is one of our favorites, my wife's personal favorite. Just a big, gnarly looking, dark purple tomato with extraordinary flavor. They produce quite a few tomatoes. Now it might take them a little bit longer to mature, but it's well worth the wait. Another one we grow is Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln tomato We grew it last year for the first time, but we won't ever be without it as far as we're concerned. Grows massive tomatoes, beefsteak style again, good for slicing. Very meaty, not a whole lot of seeds. So honestly, it's really good for canning as well. Those are the kind of tomatoes you want for canning. It's just very meaty, low seed tomatoes. But this Abe Lincoln, they can get, I think we had one last year, it was 24 ounces, 28 ounces, 32 ounces maybe, several of them, I forget. There were really big tomatoes. I think 28 ounces may have been our biggest, but they're just massive tomatoes, and you're not going to find a more impressive looking tomato, in my opinion, than that. Now, honestly, again, all I'm telling you about is heirloom tomatoes, because that's what we grow. So all of these will be heirloom tomatoes or open pollinated. Another one that we just love, it's very great for canning, a wonderful producer is Bonnie Best. Bonnie Best is a great producer. It'll be similar to a hybrid tomato called Better Boy, but we like Bonnie Best better. It's a great canner, produces plenty for canning, and you can't go wrong with that either. We used to grow Romas a lot because they're great for canning. They're wonderful pasting tomatoes is what they're called. But you know, most Romas, again, if not all, are all determinate. So they just grow very compact, but then they also set all their fruit and they're done. So these Romas will be done early September, sometimes mid-September, I guess. And it was just there wasn't nothing on the end of the season for us, and we weren't getting as much for them as what we would like. Plus, they seem to be prone to having disease, and that really puts a damper on things when you're depending on a large amount of tomatoes for canning. Carbon is one that's a very old flavor, but it's extremely sweet. It's an old tomato and has maybe a little smokiness to it if you really get into tasting the different tomatoes. Another one that we'd like to grow is called an oxheart, or an oxheart style tomato. Pink oxheart, there's several different kinds of oxhearts, but oxheart is an indeterminate pasting tomato, so there's not a whole lot of those really, but that is a really good one to grow for canning and making sauces and things of that nature, because it is meaty, and it does cook down very well, and therefore it gives you a lot of really good tomato product for your canning and for making sauces and different things of that nature. And like I said, it is indeterminate, so you get more tomatoes off of it, and you get much larger tomatoes as well. Another thing you need to think about is acid content. All red tomatoes have a higher acid content than ones that are pink, yellow, orange, purple, whatever. And really truly, the darker the color, the less acid it has in it. So your dark purple or your really purple tomatoes will have less acid than, we'll say, like your yellow or orange tomatoes. But red tomatoes have the most acid, so if you'd rather have a sweeter flavor and not as much acid, then you might want to go with a colored tomato, like a Cherokee purple or a Brandywine, or even an oxheart or something like that.
Or a carbon.
Or a carbon. Thank you. And one thing to think about as well is, where are you putting your tomatoes? Are they going in the ground? Are they going in a container? Are they going in a raised bed? Remember, if you put them in a container, the container needs to be a very large container, or if it's a little too small, then your tomato size will be affected by the size of its container. I don't know why that is, just that experience with it, that's the way it's going to be. Whereas if they're in the ground, then they have room, the roots have room to grow, spread out, and the plant itself has room to grow and spread out, but you'll have to be staking those up, obviously. Alright, so let's take a quick review. Your best canning tomatoes may be an oxheart, an Abe Lincoln, or a Bonnie Best. Your best slicing tomatoes probably going to be a Cherokee purple, a beefsteak, which we didn't cover, and really truly an Abe Lincoln. And our personal favorite for just a small cherry tomato from fresh eating is a black cherry. You can't go wrong with that one. Now, obviously, there's several things we can cover and talk about tomatoes. Heck, we could talk about tomatoes for hours. But this is a quick synopsis of what we feel, things you need to think about before you start planting your tomatoes this year. I'm Jason from Our Creation Homestead. God bless.